طيب. Did we finish the chapter in Maqasid al-Sharia? The chapter of the generality and the universality of the Sharia, right? Or are we still in that part? Huh? You're still in the middle of it, huh? 138? Nice. Jazakallah khair. Okay, the mores and customs of different people refuse claim of. Okay, yeah. طيب. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Now, in this chapter, let's continue to see the universality of the Sharia and the aspect and evidence on its universality. He's saying, rahimahullah, also here one part, قال the Sharia was not, the Sharia didn't specify the type of clothes nor the color that the Muslim need to wear, and the type of the al-masakin wal-marakib. So there's no say, oh, it's recommended to get, for example, a horse than a camel, or a camel better than a horse. There's no such a thing, because the transportation changed. And every society, they have their, preference of means of transportation and things like that. And we mentioned last time, even in this way of universality of the Sharia, that even when it comes to the masajid, every masjid you see it in a part of the world, it had the tradition of that country. It has the tradition of that country. We can see the arches, how they been built. And all of that, it depends on the country where you find it. So the difference, and that type of architecture find its roots in the tradition of that main country. So Islam comes to help, to cleanse, to purify, but it doesn't specify or obligate things, from the Arab society or the society in which the Prophet ﷺ lived, to obligate it on the rest of the nation. So what is being presented in the Sharia of Islam, that is universal for everyone, that goes with someone inner nature, and the inner nature of the human being is the same. قال فنحن نوقن أن عادات قوم ليست يحق لها بما هي عادات أن يحمل عليها قوم آخرون في التشريع. So this is obvious, and it is from the rightful thing is like the habit and the tradition of certain people, you cannot make it obligation on other people, Then we mentioned, I remember we have a question, brother asked a question about, if the adat or any of the tradition that are opposing the Sharia, of course, those are going to be eliminated. Like type of marriage that happened in time of Jahiliyyah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make them haram. Or type of action leading to killing or sacrifice that I mentioned last time, also those are haram. So we're talking about customs in the way of dressing, custom in the way of transportation, architectures, things like that, that Islam doesn't come to transform it and to change it. قال ووجه عندي الذي لم أرى من أفصح منه أن تلك الأحوال كانت في العرب أمارات على ضعف حصانة المرأة، فالنهي عنها نهي عن الباعث عليها أو التعرض لهتك العرض بسببها. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, He said, "Oh, يا أيها النبي قل لأزواجك وبناتك ونساء المؤمنين يدنين عليهن من جلابيبهن. How they need to overcover themselves. When this is ayah in Surah Al-Ahzab, page ayah 59. Ayah 59. I will have it here to read it for you, inshallah. Al-Ahzab, ayah 59. Tell your wives and your daughters and the women of the believers to draw their cloaks all over their body. Screen themselves completely except the eyes to see the way. That will be better, that they should be known as free, respectable women, so as not to be annoyed. So here, can we have those cloak or abaya to be worn by everyone who accepts Islam? Because there's people, they don't know even this type of clothes. But the clothes, the covering, someone can cover with the type of the dress that they have in their tradition. So here he's saying this ayah, when you say jalabi bihin, it doesn't mean like the jilbab, it becomes the dress code of every Muslim. But it is, as he's saying here, the objective is to preserve and to protect the honor. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the end, so as not to be annoyed. As not to be annoyed. So this is the intent, from this ayah. So here in the ayah we follow the intent. Whatever way that the woman need to cover herself, or the way she walk in the street, to not be annoyed, to not be bothered, because before the ayah is revealed, before they didn't have bathrooms in their homes like we do now. Bathroom in the home, it was something like, it was a scandal for someone to have bathroom in his home. I mean, of course, they do not have the sewer that we have today and things. So people, they used to go out in the open land, out to do their, to answer the call of the nature. Sometimes the women, they go in the night. And in the society before they have the category of the women who are like hurra. When you say hurra, free, and you have the slave ones. In the society, in this type of the society, the slave usually they have, clothes not like the hurra. They usually wear, in less covering than the woman who's, hurra. Because of their nature of their work and serving and everything. So when the woman, there's, munafiq, there's people with the sick hearts, they will be in the night trying to, to annoy these ladies. When they will be going in the night on their own too, so they go in groups. When the clothing from a distance seems like is not very covered, so what they think, that they think these are slaves. So they want to bother them. So for this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to protect the women, He said, tell them to cover all themselves. So by this ayah, though people sick in the heart, they say when they're fully covered, they have their parents, they have their own. Those are free women. They should not be, need to be respected. And these people they have, their parents, they have their, husband, etc., etc. Okay. So this is the ayah. So in the ayah, when you read it, when you mention jalabi bihinna, the cloaks, they call them, it doesn't mean like every one Muslim has to wear the jilbab. But every one Muslim need to be protected in the way how to deal and the way to do, in the way to protect her honor, to be protected, her dignity to be protected, to not be bothered, to not be annoyed, etc., etc. So that's the ayah. So he's saying if this ayah we implement it, for example, in people in China when they accept Islam, we don't tell them to stop wearing what they wear the abaya, but to be careful and caring about their honor and about, you know, their safety and to not be bothered. And this is what he's saying to help us understand the reason of the tashri'ah, what are the intent into the ayat and into the text of the Sharia. The next page قال ولقد يعد مما يناسب عموم الشريعة أنها أوكلت أمورا كثيرا للاجتهاد. Also, from the evidence of the universality of the Sharia, that many of the matters in the life of the believer, of the Muslim, is being entrusted to the ijtihad. Is being entrusted to the ijtihad. Entrusted to the ijtihad, which means the effort to have the opinion, and the opinion that you elaborate it based on the basis of the Sharia. Some of the hadith who help us to understand that. قال إن الله حد حدودا فلا تعتدوها وسكت عن أشياء رحمة بكم غير نسيان فلا تسألوا عنها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put hudud, limits, boundaries. فلا تعتدوها, do not cross it, do not break it, do not violate it. قال وسكت عن أشياء. Other thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't even mention. Because Allah, by mercy, He didn't mention having mercy on you, not because Allah forget them. So do not ask a question about them. Do not ask a question. Sometimes some things are out there, they're not bothering you into your way of dealing. But people, they want to ask a question. Say, why do you want to ask a question? It doesn't even concern you. Do you think that Allah forget about that thing? He didn't forget. But He doesn't want to burden you, because if you ask a question, you're going to find out something that is going to hurt you. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Ma'idah, I think He will have the ayah to be mentioned here. قال وإلى هذا يرجع ما قدمنا عن نهي الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يكتبوا عنه غير القرآن. That's why when we mention for the companion that said, he said, do not write anything except the Quran from me. And then خشية التباس التشريع العام بالتشريع الخاص. For the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم to avoid that the Sahaba will be confused between the universal jurisprudence and the, let's say, the specific jurisprudence. Because there are things that the Prophet ﷺ used to talk to them at that time, specific only for them. If they write it down, and then it becomes like transmitted to the next generation, is going to be hard for the next generation if they take it as well, you know, defined laws of the Sharia that they need to be implemented. You can read the second paragraph or the third paragraph in page 139. Which is give us about this, the mores and the customs. He said in page 139. So. But what we were reading is in page, that's as a reference for you to understand more about the customs and the mores. The ijtihad, when you have a text, the ijtihad is forbidden in the presence of the text. For example, you cannot make an effort to elaborate on a certain opinion when you have a text. You have a hadith, how can you go farther than the hadith? Page 140, in the third paragraph, it might also be appropriate to count as one aspect of the universality of the Sharia the fact that many matters have been delegated to the ijtihad. That's what I was mentioning. So this is in page 140 and following the 140. وقد كان الصحابة يتأسون بما فعله. I mean, they follow the example, the pattern of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم in what he has, judged أو قضى به ولم يرد فيه نص لفظي يقتضي الدوام. لأنه ينير لهم وجوه الحق ولأن أحوالهم كانت قريبة من الحال التي كانت في زمن رسول الله. And they used to apply some of the way of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم that he didn't have a text. So they saw him doing and they follow him. But the situation of the companion of the Prophet ﷺ, or their reality, the environment they live in, is very close to the environment of the Prophet, or almost the same. But now, after 1500 years, things are very different. Very different. قال ولذلك أمر عمر ابن عبد العزيز في خلافته أو إمارته أبا بكر ابن محمد ابن عمرو بن حزم بكتابة ما روي عن رسول الله من الآثار. It's only in the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz that he ordered Abu Bakr ibn Muhammad ibn Amr ibn Hazm to write down the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Writing down the Sunnah of the Prophet after this time is to help guide the elaboration of the opinion and to find also the texts that are our reference, which are the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the order of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, it was a way for the Ummah to find a guide, a light in the way how to elaborate the ahkam of the Sharia. And Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he said, قال تحدث للناس أقضية بقدر ما أحدثوا من الفجور. It happened to people, matters in their life, difficulties, things new they will be facing. And this is based on how many things ill they will do. The more ill people they do, the more problem they will be facing. So when you have new problem coming up, you will not have an example that happened before in the time of the Prophet or the time of the companion of Allah Ta'ala. That's when you need the elaboration of a new hukm. But the elaboration of the new hukm need for the scholar to know the intent of the Sharia, deeper than the description of the same example. For example, someone happened to, we have a lot of matters that we're facing today. If we know the intent of the Sharia, because if we have something that happened, the only way to find out about the law dealing with the certain matter is to find the same example happen in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, which is not possible, because we live in a time different than the time of the Prophet. But we know the intent of the Sharia, the objective of the Sharia, the way how of guidance, and all those intent that help to put the matters, to solve it in a way to fulfill the objective of the Sharia. مثال هذا أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, he given an example, ضرب في شرب الخمر ضربا غير محصور العدد ولا الآلة. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, when he punished for those who consumed intoxicant, here I have always to come back. We are 140, right? tradition to provide a guiding light. This is toward the end of the paragraph in page 141. As Umar ibn Aziz, people face court cases as much as they cause corruption. An example of specification and determination in the scholars' preoccupation with gathering and studying the legacy of the rightly guided caliphs in determining the exact punishment they applied to some crimes, and fixed amounts of poll tax, land tax, blood money, and compensation for injuries. However, some of those amounts were subject to reduction in both value and circulation, which meant that they became inadequate as an accepted indemnity. Of the same kind is Malik Julis. He didn't mention here, I don't think they mentioned part of this book here. قال the Prophet Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, for those who consumed intoxicant, he slashed them 40 times. ثم ضرب عمر 80, because the Prophet ﷺ didn't define it, he didn't restrict it. And he didn't say what you're going to use to punish. قال عمر ضرب 80. Umar, he did it 80 times. برأي من علي, with the opinion of Ali رضي الله تعالى عنه. إذ قال له إن السكران إذا سكر هذا وإذا هذا افترى فأرى أن عليه حد الفري. You know, the one who lies in the witnesses, or like the one who slander, a chaste, pure, believing woman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, those to need to be slashed 80 times. Abu Bakr, he did it 40, but Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when things start to loosen up in a way on time of Umar, he said, I see the one who dare to consume intoxicant and become drunk, and the drunk people, they start to be confused, they don't know exactly what to say. And those who come to that level, it's easy for them to slander people. Therefore, I see their punishment needs to be the same punishment as the other, which will be 80. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu took his opinion. So even in the punishment, it depends on the condition of the society, what will be reprimanding in a way to stop people from doing this infraction and violation. So there is no something that determined exact determination of the punishment. Then it comes to the, I don't know why he didn't translate this part, but then the next paragraph is what I was reading in 141. In 141. Then he's saying, قال فعموم الشريعة سائر البشر في سائر العصور مما أجمع عليه المسلمين وقد أجمعوا على أنها مع عمومها صالحة للناس في كل زمان ومكان. Therefore, the universality of the Sharia and its inclusion of all humankind throughout the ages is a subject of unanimous agreement among the Muslim scholars and among everyone. But they didn't specify this relevance, this universality. But he's saying, the author, this is specified for me by two things. قال have no clear defined meaning. This specification should be seen only as example for consideration and aspiring more. Now here is طيب. In page 142, he's saying the suitability of the Sharia for humankind can be said to assume two different modes. So the Sharia, because of its principle, of its universality, that it can be relevant and applicable for all time, and its laws goes with every state of human being or time, without burden or hardship. And this is, we see it actually in the example of the scholars, in the way they give their fatwa. You find the student of their shuyukh, they given different fatwa than all shuyukh. That when being accused, Abu Yusuf al-Qadi, to go and oppose his sheikh Abi Hanifa. He said, I didn't oppose him or have different opinion than he has because of opposing, him in his opinion or in his principle. He said, I didn't oppose my sheikh in the principle or in the text, but the time changed and the people, they change. Time change, environment change, reality change. That's why always the spirit of the Sharia is to fulfill the objective, to achieve the intent of the Sharia, Muradullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, remember that we said the whole Sharia is based on two main principles. جلب المصالح ودرء المفاسد, is to acquire the maximum possible of masalih, of benefit, of ease, of good. And درء المفاسد is to push away and to protect, to be protected from the harm. So that's the main two big principles on which the whole Islamic Sharia is based on. The second mode or way, he call it mode here, I don't know. He gave an example, but what we have said is enough, inshallah. The al-kayfiyat al-thaniya, the second way to know that he's saying, consists of the fact that the situation of all people and nations throughout the ages have been receptive to the teaching of Islam without any difficulty or hardship. And we witness that. There's many people revert to Islam, they didn't talk about hardship to come to Islam or difficulty. The adaptation is adaptation for everyone. I mean, adaptation of someone who is like addicted to certain ill things. I mean, to get rid of them, it takes time. So that's not actually, that's a process of purification. So he's saying here, قال, many of the situation of society, like Persian, Coptic, Berber, Roman, Mongolian, Indian, Chinese, Turk, all of them. And subhanAllah, when you look at the Muslim civilization, you find all of them. The Arab, the Persian, Furs, Qobt, Berber, which is like from part of Africa. The Mongolian, they accepted Islam. The people from India, Sin, the Sin, they have a very big Muslim population, very big. But you don't listen to them on the media. Like I heard last time, one scholar from Turkestan, which is now West Turkestan, it's been invaded for a long time by China. It's part of China today. And they see the way of they are persecuted over there. Wallahi, you cannot even imagine. It's forbidden for them, we heard, to fast, and forbidden for them to pray. So he said even people in the prison, they cover their face, just to pray with their eyes. It forbids them even to cover the face. So they have under the camera without covering the face, so they will not pray. There's big population, very big population of Muslims in China. So all of that, the Turk, mashallah, the Turk, and you see, mashallah, big population. من غير أن يجدوا حرجا ولا عسرا في الإقلاع عما نزعوه من قديم أحوالهم الباطلة. They don't find any, hardship in getting rid of all the ill tradition that they have, opposing morality and conflicting with the way of Islam. And they weren't obligated to skin or to leave their own tradition, to enroot them from their own identity. It's not Islam. He's saying it here. This is evidenced by the transformation that Islam has brought about in daily lives of the Arabs, the Persian, the Copts of Egypt, the Berber, the Tartars, the people of India, the Chinese, and the Turks. Without these people facing any difficulty or hardship in discarding their age-old bad habit or being compelled to forsake their established good customs. No one enroot them. Yeah. Then he's saying, وهاتان الكيفيتان متآيلتان وقد جمعهما معا مغزى قوله تعالى. And those two modes, those two aspects, they go together in the spirit of the Sharia, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala combined them in the ayah of Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 78. قال, and God has laid no hardship on you in anything that pertains to religion. وما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج. وما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج. Do you need to take the break now? We'll give you the break. Break time? Yeah, I can see in the face. When you come back, we'll try to finish, insha'Allah, this chapter and start in the chapter of the equality, bi'idhnillah. We start back at 7:45. واضح? It's a good time. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. Continuing the Maqasid al-Sharia and in the evidence of the universality of the Sharia, and he's saying رحمه الله تعالى فيتعين أن يكون معنى مصلوحية شريعة الإسلام لكل زمان أن تكون أحكامها كليات ومعاني مشتملة على حكم ومصالح صالحة لأن تتفرع منها أحكام مختلفة الصور متحدة المقاصد. He said it comes to know that the universality and the Sharia, the fact to be relevant and applicable for all time and all ages and for all generation, that all its principle is based on hikam wa masalih, on wisdom and principle, and masalih is the way to correct and to help and benefit the people. And this is here is part in page 143. قال must be understood in a different for every time and place must be understood in a different manner as for its command and injunctions ahkam consists of universal principle and meaning comprising wisdom and benefits, which can be projected into various rulings that are diverse in form but unified in purpose. And he mentioned here, rahimahullah ta'ala, example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who indulge themselves in immorality, he didn't specify to be like whipped or to be punished with the stoning or anything of that. But قال سبحانه وَالَّذَانِ يَأْتِيَانِهَا مِنْكُمْ فَآذُوهُمَا, and those who indulge in immorality, punish them. So the punishment will be, going back to the Sunnah, in tafasir of the Sunnah, but also punished to fulfill the objective of the Sharia. As we mentioned, for the punishment for those who consume intoxicant, how in time of Abu Bakr it was 40, in time of Ali it was 80, so it depends. So there's no quantification and exact way of determining all this aspect of punishment. As example, to not get into a lot of details. The more details you get into it, the more like you paralyze the whole system. Therefore, when everything is based on principles and ahkam, that they will be like everlasting, because it's needed for all the generation. For example, you will not come in certain generation and you want to make ijtihad on the way of how you pray. The prayer is the same as the Prophet ﷺ taught us. But when it comes to the mu'amalat, it comes to relationship, it comes to contract, it comes in dealing into businesses, into relationship, in things that happen in the future or happening now, it didn't happen in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, you always, with the spirit of the Sharia and the principle that you have, it will be easy to elaborate and to find the right ways and the right rules concerning such a thing. And that's what the ijtihad. قال ورد في القرآن يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تسألوا عن أشياء تبد لكم تسؤكم وإن تسألوا عنها حين ينزل القرآن تبد لكم عفى الله عنها والله غفور حليم قد سألها قوم من قبلكم ثم أصبحوا بها كافرين. Or you believe or you have attained faith, do not ask about matter which, if they were to be made manifest to you in terms of law, might cause you hardship. For if you ask about them while the Quran is being revealed, they might indeed be made manifest to you as laws. God has absolved you from any obligation in this respect. For God is much forgiving, forbearing. People before your time have indeed asked such question, and in result thereof have come to deny the truth. The Prophet ﷺ really show and have the wa'id and prohibit for those to ask a question with no reason, with no way of benefit, with no, call them al-mutanatti'in, those who ask a question. And he said in the hadith, the worst of the people those who certain thing becomes haram because of his question. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِن تَسْأَلُوا عَنَا حِينَ يُنَزِّلُ الْقُرْآنِ. When the Quran comes down, ask the question. So the Quran, he'll show you the path. And then when you ask a question, within the revelation to understand more the way to implement the Quran. But you ask for things that doesn't relate to the life or doesn't relate to the path, then it's going to cause, answering, which is going to be make difficult on every one of us. There's things, for example, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, people before your time, like people of the book, they ask a question to their prophet. The people of Musa, they asked to see Allah. They died. The answer was like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala killed them all. فَأَخَذَتْهُمُ الصَّاعِقَةُ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed on them His favor to bring them back to life. And in one of this reason of revelation that mentioned in the books of the tafsir, that someone asked, where's my father now? That's a question, is not relevant question. And his father passed away. So the Prophet ﷺ, it seen anger in his face. He said, your father is in the fire. That's why قال إن تبد لكم تسؤكم. When it becomes manifest to you, it's going to hurt you. Don't ask. Only ask the question. The question is the way of knowledge. How someone gain knowledge by question. Therefore, the true knowledge comes in the way how to understand or to how to ask the question. Look, the question of Jibreel alayhi salam to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when Jibreel asked him a question, there's a question that he asked him, Jibreel, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't answer him because it's not a question to teach us. قالوا when the Sa'ah is going to come. قالوا ما السائل بأعلم منها من المسؤول. The one who asking the question, he doesn't know about it, nor the one who's been asked it. He told him, then tell me about its science. So that question doesn't have answer. So sometimes people, they ask a question well, not relevant. When you say relevant question, a question that help you to understand, help to be guided. And that's the Islam. And many of the things that people, they you know, that cross their mind, Allah didn't forget them. Allah, by rahmah, that He didn't mention to us. The Prophet ﷺ, as we said, he forbidden for many of the companions or at his time to write from him everything. لأنه كان يقول أقوالا ويعامل الناس معاملة هي أثر أحوال خاصة. Because he used to deal with people, it might be dealing specific to those particular people. For example, in Hadith Al-Shuf'a للجار, Hadith Al-Shuf'a للجار, I don't know if he mentioned it here or not. Yes, page 144 in second paragraph, the Prophet forbade Muslims to write down anything other than the Quran. The reason was that he used to make statements and deal with people in different ways that were the result of particular circumstances, with which narrator might believe to be of universal and permanent bearing. One instance of this is the tradition according to which the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave shuf'a, preemption, to the neighborhood. The hadith of the shuf'a is an action in the mu'amalat, which when there's people, they are partners in a business. If one of the partners wants to sell his shares, he has to get the permission of his partner first, because his partner had the priority to buy those shares before anybody else. So this is in business. Will this apply for everyone who wants to sell his house? He needs to ask his neighbor first. Maybe his neighbor, because his neighbor, he has the right of whom we're going to be neighbor to next to him. So here القضاء بالشفعة للجار. قال علماؤنا لا حجة فيه لاحتمال خصوصية لذلك الجار. أي بأن صادف كونه شريكا وجارا. فهير the shuf'a that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, when someone was going, one of the companions selling his house, and when someone, for example, in a business, if you have shares and you sell them, business, we talk about small business, this depends on the country, but this is in Islam, shuf'a. Someone, for example, they have a warehouse, owned 50% by two people. One, he's gonna sell his 50%, he'll find the buyer, and he said he showed him the warehouse and everything, and he make the deal with him. The other one, the person B comes, you know, he finally said, who are you? He said, I'm the new owner here. He said, no, this doesn't work this way. He's gonna go to his partner A. He told him, you didn't have the right to sell, you know, before you asked me. Then he go to the judge, and the judge will stop that act of sale from the person C, the third party. And he bring it back to the table, and he ask the partner, will you buy them? That's the haqq of shuf'a. This cannot apply for the for the jar, for the neighbors. So the Prophet ﷺ, someone, he sold the house and he came to the Prophet ﷺ as a judge to, so the Prophet ﷺ said, yes, you have the right to buy it. So, which is mean, like, it seems when we say haqq al-shuf'a, so the Prophet ﷺ, he has his order and judgment for that person to have preserved for his neighbor the right of the selling first, of the buying. So when we say here haqq al-shuf'a and is being reported, can we apply it on every neighbor that you have? That every time someone is going to sell a house, he has to first take the permission from his neighbor that he doesn't want to buy it. So that's because what does mean haqq al-shuf'a? I have the right first to buy it. You have to first present it to me, and then if I would say no, then you put it in the market. So here, قال فقهاؤنا from, and he mentioned for the Maliki school, they don't take it in consideration because he said we didn't know the circumstances. Maybe actually this neighbor, he also was, owner. He's a partner in it. You see, so that's how we understand why the Prophet ﷺ was leaning toward not for his sunnah or everything that he say will be written. The last part of this chapter so when he said in the Sunnah here in the last paragraph, was collected and classified by the scholar from the generation of the companion and their successor. The motives for its collection and classification were different, as were the criteria for the acceptance of report. It mostly consists of particular legislative provision because it dealt with individual cases. However, it contains manifest general legislative rules that are an appropriate basis for universal permanent legislation. So, as you see here, also the understanding of the Sunnah and the analysis of the Sunnah need to have this mindset that many of the action that being reported have certain circumstances. That's why no one had the right to elaborate or to issue a ruling out of one hadith. It's forbidden. Because someone needs to look at all the hadith and look at the whole Quran. So he will make like an istiqra and full examination of the Sunnah to come to a ruling. And then to study those circumstances, are those universal circumstances or not, and all of this. So as you see, the universality of the Sharia is quite obvious when you study the principle of the Sharia of Islam and the way that is first built on the fitrah, on the inner disposition. Second, all the principle or the main principle on which the whole laws is elaborated are two, jalbul masalah wa daf'ul mafasid, to always to inquire the good and to push and to avoid the harmful and the mafsada and the mischief. And you have all the principle that the Islam comes to cleanse and elevate the rank of society to its purity or toward the purification, and not to enroot the society from its tradition. And that's how Islam, when it comes to a society, is welcome, and it doesn't enroot them, actually it cleanses them and guides them. And that is what make the law of the way of Islam to be universal, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. The next chapter is Al-Musawat. Chapter 17 and page 146. Any question? The equality in the Sharia is one of the bases and the principle on which the Islam is based. And one of the things that comes from the universality of the Sharia, and someone need to analyze also, is the way of the equality into the Ummah of Islam, and how the Sharia, the jurisprudence, treat and deal with the individual, and how to consider this equality and how to deal with it. All the Muslims are equal in turning or to refer to one jami'ah in one thing that gather them, which is Al-Islam, and what make them to be equal and to be, one from each one, like united, is Al-Iman. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ أَخْوَةٌ إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ أَخْوَةٌ. All believers are but brethren, brothers. As-sawa here, the equality which then make the Muslim to be in the general way, all of them are equal in rights, but the equality here is not equality in all the aspects. Is the equality in where the equality has effect on the unity, on the development of the society, on the way of the dealing, and as he's going to explain it. For example, when we come to the faith, everyone is equal. They are equal in what related to the universal matters in our structure. In the thing that you don't choose, we are equal. Nobody chose where he, the place of his birth. Therefore, no place of birth is prepared to any other place. All of them are equal. No one chose the color that he's going to be born with. Therefore, the color is equal. Anything that is out of the choice must be equal between Muslims. كلكم من آدم وآدم من تراب. All of you are from Adam and Adam from clay. So if you want to think that you are better than everyone or some people, look at yourself. You are both coming from clay. قال فإذا علمنا أن المسلمين سواء بأصل الخلقة واتحاد الدين تحققنا أنهم أحقاء بالتساوي في تعلق خطاب الشريعة. So if we know that they are all coming from the same source as the creation, and they belong to the same way, which is Islam, therefore we understood that the speech of Allah and the commands of Allah, it turned to them equally. So we cannot say, as Allah, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the deviation of the Bani Israel started when they applied the laws on the weak one and they spared the strong one. When they applied the laws on the poor one and they spared the rich one. Here you make the inequality that is going to lead to mischief and corruption. As they are the same in the origin of their creation, and they follow the same path, therefore the command apply on them the same. And when one of the lady of Quraysh, she did a violation, and the Prophet ﷺ going to punish her, so people they come to intercede for her. يشفعون لها. He said, are you going to stop a law of Allah to be implemented? He said, by the one who holding my soul, if Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad, do such a violation, steals or do anything, I will be the first to to punish her. So this is the equality in the command of Allah that being applicable and addressed on everyone and applied on everyone. And this is to understand, so the equality, as you're seeing, is embedded in the Islamic faith. Is embedded. Why? Because Islam is based on the fitrah, the inner nature of the human being. And the fitrah is all the same. Therefore, everything that the inner nature see it to be equal, Islam see it equal. And everything the inner nature see it to have a preference in it between people, then Islam, you'll find it, base his ahkam on such differences and preferences. And whatever the inner nature see it like, there's differences, the Islam will leave to the civil law to deal with such a thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Oh, you believe, كونوا قوامين بالقسط." If we have, be ever steadfast in upholding equity, bearing witness to the truth for the sake of Allah, even though if it be against your own selves or your own parents or kinsfolk. So you have to say the truth. You have to witness in the truth. Even you're going to say it against your own father or against your own mother. So this is the equality here comes. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the other way, what he said, قَالَ are not equal from among you those who stand in the sake of Allah before the Fath, and he strove and he fought. Those are in a greater daraja, scale, than those who came later. So here, subhanAllah, the fitrah say, yes, this student, he worked so hard, and the other one was lazy. Don't tell me why you're being like unjust with him. You give him C and this one getting A. Why? I say, there's no why here. He worked hard, he didn't work. See? Someone say, I need help. Say the other one, he didn't need help. Why? Because he's doing his work. And you use, this person is lazy. So you're not equal. This one is better than you. So this is here, is wrong to apply equality in this, at this, subs or at these cases. So when you say equality, also we need to study where, when, and where the equality need to apply it. So this is, we base it back to the fitrah, back to the fitrah. قال فالمساواة في التشريع للأمة ناظرة إلى تساويهم في الخلقة وفروعها. So the equality in the Sharia is based or looked at their equality in their creation, in their way, in our structure, in our looking, قال وفروعها, and whatever, is related to it. مما لا يؤثر التمايز فيه أثرا في صلاح العالم. So, التمايز, when you make preference in certain condition, it's going to have a negative impact on the well-being of the universe. That's where the equality need to be observed. Because when you make inequality between people because of their color, that is going to hurt the whole universe. As he's saying here, I'll read it what he said. Under Islamic legislation, equality in society stems from the equality of human beings in their inborn nature and in all the related matters, in which variation between individuals has no implication for the well-being and virtue of society. Thus, human beings are the same in respect of their humanity. Human beings are the same, قال فلا جرم نجعل هذه في مذاق التسويم في أصول التشريع مستحق, which comes to see that the equality becomes an obligation when we look at this in the asl of the tashri', in the way of the legislation, and in the way first on the right of existence. You remember we put the ahkam or the maqasid being on categories, the category of al-daruriyat, necessities, and the category of the al-hajjiyat, those are required by the society, needed. And then al-kamaliyat, the accessory or the thing that for beautification. Everyone is equal in al-daruriyat by a must. So when we talked about the daruriyat, we talked about حفظ الأديان, حفظ الحياة, حفظ النسب or وحفظ العقل, and حفظ المال. So the protection of life, the protection of faith, the protection of the intellect or the brain, the protection of the progeny, and the protection of properties. These equality, it implement or obligated on everyone here. Everyone had the right of faith, freedom of faith when we're talking to be protected. Everyone has his right in his intellect. Everyone has his right in his progeny, etc. Everyone has his right in having a property. So this is our basic rights that Islam have, implement equality, obligate equality, because is daruriyat for the society. And this is from Asl al-Tashri', as is embedded into legislation of the Islam. قال وأعظم ذلك حق الانتساب إلى الجامعة الدينية المعبر عنه بحفظ الدين. For the first thing is the right to protect the deen. ووسائل كل ذلك ومكملاته لاحقة بالمتوسل إليه والمكمل. فظهر تساوي الناس في نظر التشريع في الضروري والحاج, which comes the Sharia, in the eye of the Sharia and the sight of the Sharia, everyone is equal in الضروريات and in الحاجيات. Everyone is equal in the ضروريات that we mentioned, if you remember, and الحاجيات. وقلما نجد فروقا في الحاج مثل سلب العبد أهلية التصرف في المال إلا بإذن سيده. في الحاج, in the thing like the ability for someone to have the freedom to use the property that he has the way he wants. So he has his money, he wants to manage his money the way he wants, of course in the halal way. But he said in the hajj sometimes it comes like it's very rare when you find people that will not have the ability, like someone, for example, at that time they have slavery, he only will do it by the permission of his master, or someone who has become senile or has a problem, they withdraw from him this ability or this right because of shortcoming that he has. فالمساواة في التشريع أصل لا يتخلف إلا عند وجود مانع. So the equality in the Islamic jurisprudence is a principle, is a root, is a spirit. So you see sometimes, subhanAllah, many times when you study in such subject, you find, for example, talking about justice. Justice kind when people, they talk about justice, is like a target to achieve. In Islam is a spirit. It's a soul into the action and in the way of dealing. The equality, people, they want to achieve equality. They said we need to be equal. No, equality is embedded into the Islamic Sharia. The equality comes as a spirit in the Islamic Sharia. So the equality is not an objective to achieve in Islamic Sharia. No, it is embedded, it comes with it, it's part of it. Because one of the companions when he, he disrespect one of his brother, the Prophet ﷺ قال إنك امرؤ فيه جاهلية. You are a man who has ignorance in you, which is mean like you lacking, part of you is lacking the Islam. Because if someone he embrace fully the Islam, that think of discrimination will not be part of his even thinking, because it doesn't exist in Islam. That's what he's saying here. In the last paragraph in page 147, it thus becomes clear that human beings in the Sharia are equal with regard to what is indispensable, daruri, the necessity, and necessary, haji. And then he says in page 148, accordingly, equality in Islamic legislation is a fundamental principle that operates unfailingly except in situations where there are valid mawana. Mawana is something preventive, thing that prevented to happen. They cannot do it, mawana. Therefore, he said, قال فلا يحتاج إثبات التساوي في التشريع. So the Sharia, you would not ask in Islam, give me proof that there is equality. He said, we cannot give you proof that there is equality in Islam, because the equality is part of the Islam, is embedded in Islam, is a principle in Islam, is a fundamental, is a core in Islam, is born with Islam. طيب. And this is based on this, that the scholar of the Ummah said when the Quran talk in the male pronoun, that's include the women. So he said huwa, or he said that's include. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk to both men and women. And therefore, we will not need to say, oh, we need another law for the women. It's the same. So we don't need to change the speech from the dhakar to the untha to validate it for the woman. No, whatever Allah said is addressed to the man and the woman, unless it's specified. In the bay'ah that the Prophet ﷺ gave, the first bay'ah, they call it bay'atun nisa, the oath, the covenant of women. Now, when you think covenant of women, people, especially in the Muslim world, they said like he's weak. It's not that. It's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet ﷺ to call the women and to give, for the women to give their covenant on these items that Allah mentioned in the end of Surah Al-Mumtahina. So this covenant was addressed to the women, but also is upon of the man to do it. قال أتبايعوني على ألا تشركوا بالله شيئا. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال يا أيها النبي إذا جاءك المؤمنات يبايعنك. So ask them to do such a thing. So that's for men and women. موانع المساواة. What are the impediment to equality? Inshallah, we'll do them next time بإذن الله تعالى. And we'll move to our class التحفة العراقية. التحفة العراقية في أعمال القلوب. Any question? Yes. Yes. Yeah.
If he has money, you get back up and you go out. But the poor guy, he doesn't have money, he's paying that. Until you get the next hearing.
So the family, they have to pay.
Doesn't have to pay.
That's why the diya was made on al-aqila, on the whole full extended family. When someone killed by mistake and he has to pay the diya, and the diya at that time, go to 100 camel, which is like, it might get to $100,000. He cannot pay it. So it's upon the whole extended family to contribute to pay it. So he is such a thing, is like the community need to help. I mean, his family, they have to pay that to help him. Wallahu ta'ala. But this system is different. If you have money, you can pay the thing, you can have a good lawyer, you can have a lot of things. Allah yafak. Any other question? طيب, a few minutes and we start the next class.